In the previous video, we discussed the most likely draft lottery scenario and who the Raptors draft with the 7th or 8th overall pick, but today we get our hopes up and we spread some Raptors propaganda as we talk about the best case scenario if we end up with the 3rd or 4th pick in this upcoming NBA draft, and I have a generational superstar who would turn the Raptors around with this pick. Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans to Amateur Hour Sports. This is a channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors 4 days a week. That is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. This is your Wednesday episode where we are breaking down the best case scenario of the draft lottery and who the Raptors should take with that pick. Not the 1 or 2 pick, because I think those ones are a little obvious, but the 3rd or 4th pick. So if you like what you see from today's video and you want more of myself talking about the Raptors and other NBA content just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to show your support to the channel. We're well on our road to 4,000 subscribers. We are getting very close to 3,400 on our way to that big milestone for the channel. So let's get into our content for today. The best case scenario. This is a part of our 3-part series. This is part 2. We break down the most likely scenario, the best case scenario, and the worst case scenario for the Raptors in this upcoming NBA draft lottery. So we did our Monday episode where we did the most likely scenario, the 7th or 8th pick, and I said that Keon Johnson is the man for that. Today we do our best case scenario, the 3rd or 4th pick, because I think that 1 and 2 are pretty obvious, so it's more fun to speculate for 3 and 4. And on Saturday, we're going to do our worst case scenario and who we should take with the 10th or possibly 11th pick if we do wind up in that position. Friday, for that video, we'll do something a little bit different to just kind of separate the content and diversify the content on the channel. But today, the 3rd or 4th pick, I think that it is kind of obvious who should go 1 or 2. Cade Cunningham is going number 1, and I think that most teams will be taking Evan Mobley in the number 2 position, unless they already have a big on their team and don't need another one in Evan Mobley. So I think that if the Raptors end up with a 3rd pick, assuming that Cade Cunningham and Evan Mobley are gone, I mean, if one of them are still available at 3, you take one of them. But let's say they're both already gone. Who should the Raptors take in this position? There's a lot to choose from, a lot of great talent in this very top-heavy draft class, but I think that there is one man who stands above the rest, and people can speculate it could be Suggs, Kuminga, Barnes, but the number 1 guy in this draft for me, other than Mobley and Cunningham, is easily Jalen Green. Jalen Green playing out of the G League Ignite team in the NBA G League, getting to play with men rather than college students. He is playing among some guys who are truly fighting for their NBA career, and he posed some amazing stats there. So what we're going to do for this video, I'm going to break down his G League stats. We're going to go into his strengths. We're going to go into his weaknesses. And then finally, we're going to end on a player comparable for Jalen Green in the NBA. So let's get into this draft profile breakdown on the channel, starting with those G League stats. And in the G League, Jalen Green was absolutely on fire. A sniper of a shooting guard, standing at 6'6", put up 17 points per game in the 15 games that he played. He started all of them for, again, the G League Ignite team in the NBA G League. He put up just over 4 rebounds per game, 2.8 assists, but you know, this is a pure shooting guard, doesn't really need to get those numbers. What we care about is the shooting, the points, and the efficiency. The efficiency is also right there. He shoots about 46% from the field, 37% from 3. This guy is an absolute sniper, a sniper, which is exactly what the Raptors have been missing, I think, for the last couple of years. Somebody who can give the ball to and can go get a bucket. He also added in 1.5 steals per game. Jalen Green has so much talent and so much upside, and he absolutely displayed it in the G League, where, he's playing against men. He's playing against guys who are actual NBA players, who go up, who go down. Sometimes you get called up, sometimes they're in the G League. Playing against actual NBA players, playing against men rather than college students, and he's still showcasing this insane talent that he does possess, just insane natural talent that this guy possesses. So let's break it down more so in our strengths. It's really hard to confine the strengths into just a little bit of a graphic here, but here's what I have as the key strengths toward Jalen Green's game. He is a 3-level scorer, first of all, and he has the ability to create a shot on any level of the floor for himself. He is a great shot creator, whether it be getting to the rim, whether it be stepping back for a 3, and he's a bit of an analytical dream, which appeals to somebody like myself. Doesn't really rely on the mid-range game as much. He relies on getting to the rim, and he uses that explosive and insane athleticism athleticism that he possesses in order to get to the rim, but also he's shifty. He's got that quick twitch, and he's very athletic, which means he can step back and get himself a three. Also, if he has to create a shot in the mid-range, he's got the 3-level scoring, but he doesn't need to rely on the mid-range game. That is something that it definitely appeals to me and maybe some other guys who care about analytics. He also stands at 6'6", and for a shooting guard, that would definitely aid the Raptors, who kind of been lacking in size in those positions for a while. He's also very young, 19, so much room to grow still. Such a high ceiling. All of these things together, the 3-level scoring, the shot creation, the insane athleticism, turns him into an absolutely elite scorer. And I think he's already at the level where he can be a great scorer in the NBA, even in his rookie season. There is definitely rookie of the year vibes coming out of this guy for me. On top of all these things, he's tenacious. He does these things with a purpose. He throws down with a purpose, and he's a go-getter on the court. He has so much fuel as he's playing the game. He is amazing to see play. All of these things considered, there is legitimate number 1 overall pick upside with this player, and I think there are many other years where he would go number 1, but with Cade Cunningham involved, he's going to go number 1. But I think that if you told me that Jalen Green would be the best player to come out of the 2021 NBA entry draft, I wouldn't be that shocked, because it absolutely makes sense with the utterly insane skill set that this guy possesses. I think that he is already NBA ready. I think he's going to come into the league as a guy who's contributing from day one to his team. The efficiency is already there, even in the G League. There's just so much about his game that appeals specifically to the Toronto Raptors. They've been lacking, I think, a true shooting guard for quite some time, and I think that Jalen Green, if he gets drafted by the Raptors, comes in and probably starts immediately, which would see maybe a decision involving Gary Trent's contract, whether you re-sign him, but if he does come back, maybe coming off the bench as a 6-man Gary Trent, because I think this would be a perfect pairing for a guy like Fred VanVleet. Fred has the defense, maybe lacks a little bit of the size, but Jalen Green definitely makes up for the size. And the Raptors, who don't have that go-getter, that guy you stick the ball in his hands, get us that bucket when we're on a cold stretch, when we're down bad in the clutch, give him the ball. He can go create his own shot anywhere on the floor and get you back in the game. This is a perfect player for the Toronto Raptors. So with all these great things in mind, we do need to talk a little bit about his weaknesses. I'm going to be honest, I really struggle to find many weaknesses in his game. I think that maybe if you're really picky, you can break it down to a little bit of his defense, but because of his size, and he's a sound defender. He's a guy that you can rely on to play defense, especially with the Raptors. If he's playing with Freddie, OG, Siakam, already great defenders, doesn't need to be a defensive stalwart, and he definitely doesn't stand out like a sore thumb. Like, he definitely fits in on a defensive end. So his true weaknesses, I would say, are he potentially turns the ball over a little bit too much, but that's being very picky here again. And he also struggles to draw fouls. And you look at his G League stats, he barely even drew 2 fouls per game. And for a guy who likes to get a lot of his points in the inside attacking the rim, it is a little bit peculiar. He likes to go around contact, but I think kind of affects his field goal percentage, which is already great at 46.1%. And I think that these are both things that can easily be fixed in the NBA, especially the drawing fouls. Needs to do a little bit more of going through contact to get those calls rather than going around it. But again, these are things that are just so picky. These are 2 things that I wouldn't even really worry about drafting this guy. But for the sake of the video, for the sake of the draft profile, you have to mention these maybe weaknesses. But honestly, for a guy who's a shooting guard, I want him to be selfish sometimes, and that can lead to turnovers. I want him to go out there and take risks. These are things. This is just the nature of the game. And as far as going around contact, and he still has a 46% field goal percentage, that is insane. And if he starts to actually bring in those free throws to his game, it would make him that much better. So as far as weaknesses, there isn't really a lot for me to discuss, quite honestly. So I really found it difficult to get a true player comparable here. I think that I saw one that I really, really like. I think that his game kind of reminds you of the way Clyde Drexler played. Anybody's seen tape, anybody's seen highlight of him. The way he can just glide past opponents, get to the rim, but also create his own shooting opportunities. And he's got a mixture of that with, honestly, a big shoes to fill, big name to replicate, but Kobe Bryant. I see Kobe Bryant tendencies within Jalen Green for sure. I'm going to bring it back to that word I used used earlier, the tenacity, he's so tenacious on the court, which is very reminiscent of Kobe Bryant. And again, that's a big name to live up to, but I think that he's got those sort of tendencies to play like a mixture of these two players, with his ability to create his own shooting opportunities, with his ability to kind of be that killer in some big scenarios, to get his own shot, to will his way to the basket, to will the ball into the basket when his team needs it to go in, when they need that bucket. The Raptors have been lacking this sort of player, I think, for the last 2 seasons. And if by some miracle we wind up with a top 4 pick and we can get this guy, he would seriously turn this team around. This would be the difference for the Raptors. I think that if we need a number 1 option to make sure Siakam's our number 2, we got OG Anunoby as our 3rd option, maybe Fred VanVleet mixed into that 3rd option. This is your first option. You can mold this player, I think, within 2 seasons into a guy who's your number 1 option in playoff big game scenarios. I absolutely feel like this way. There is really nothing that detriments this guy's game. He's got every tool to succeed. Every single tool. He's got the height. He's got the strength. Defense is fine. The shot creation, 3-level score, athleticism. I could go on forever. There is so much to like about Jalen Green's game. This would be the perfect piece to the Raptors puzzle. And again, this guy's got number 1 overall pick upside. If you told me in a few years that we're going to see Jalen Green emerging as the best player from this draft, I would absolutely believe that. I can conceive a reality where that is the case. I can definitely see this guy going 2nd overall behind Cade Cunningham, depending on which team ends up in that slot. I hope, honestly, you know what? If the Raptors end up in the 2nd overall slot, I would strongly consider drafting this guy over Evan Mobley. This guy is a game changer, and I'm not sure that Evan Mobley can be in the NBA. Jalen Green is a game changer, a generational talent, a future superstar that nobody can ignore. And if you pass up on him with the 3rd pick, you know, there's a lot of great things about Suggs' game, maybe even Kuminga, but I think that Jalen Green is the man for the Raptors in that shooting guard position. And I am absolutely dreaming about the lottery going our way and getting this guy inserted into our team. Down the road, this guy makes us contenders. I mean, rookie contracts win championships because you place all these expensive players around your number 1 option who's making like $1 or $2 million a year. This guy would be the person to help us get to that position. I'm dreaming of this. Obviously, far-fetched dream. It's, you know what, a 31.9% chance. We can hope for it, but most likely scenario is not, but we can always speculate. So that wraps up for me for today. Let me know what you think about Jalen Green in the 3rd overall pick position. Who would you take in this position? I want to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. But that wraps up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are still here, be sure to hit that like button. If you did enjoy the video at any point, really goes a long way to helping us reach new viewers with that algorithm, get new people immersed in the content. Also, follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/amateursports. We do a ton of NBA playoff watch songs. Plus, we do some other crazy stuff like we do leg waxing. Sometimes we play video games on stream as well, so go check that out with the link down below. Subscribe to the channel. On our road to 4,000 subscribers. You can help us get there by subscribing and keeping up to date with the content with that notification bell. Other videos by the channel, and always remember, at the end of the day, I believe what I say, and if you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.